Hi, I'm Bobby, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. I'm happy today to have with me Reverend Furrow. I'm excited about this conversation. I think the timing is perfect. And once again, I want to welcome you to Off the Cuffs. Doc, first of all, I want to welcome you here.
Thank you.
And glad you're here. What we always do when we have guests here is we like for them to tell us about yourself. Tell us the history of you. Who are you and how did you arrive here? I think that our listeners and our viewers want to know a little bit of something about you.
I go by Skip normally, and I've had the privilege of being the pastor at North Point Baptist Church on University Parkway for 23 years. My family and I moved down here from Lewisburg, Greenboro County, West Virginia, and we were able to take up the position of being the pastor of that church, and bought a home in a rural hall, and have thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being in this area.
Wow. So how many years you say you've been here?
23.
Wow. Well, you know, a lot of people don't know, what is our connection? So let me share that with our viewers. So last year, you invited law enforcement to your church to fellowship with your congregation. I've been to a lot of churches throughout this county, throughout this country. We're doing a lot of traveling, going to different churches. And there was something about your church, the closeness, how genuine the people were. And I really enjoyed the message that you gave. And so you and I talked after church, and we had a lot of things in common.
Yes, sir.
And we had a personal conversation. And there was a connection to where I knew that I had to get you to Off the Cuffs, because this day and time and where we're at, people want transparency. People want the truth. You can't do nothing without transparency. Anything that you expect to stand, it has to be transparent. So I had a couple questions. You and I were talking before we started rolling. What do you see that we're going through right now? What do you see the role of the church in this time that we're living in?
It's an awesome question. So many times churches think in terms of attendance on Sunday, and even tragically, churches think in terms of their buildings or their budget. This is an opportunity for people of God to be what Jesus taught us to be, and that is that, Jesus was here for 33 and a half years in person. And now he is ascended into heaven. He's at the right hand of God the Father. But the teaching is that because of the Holy Spirit inside a believer in Jesus, we now are the body of Christ. And that we are to be the mouth, the ears, the hands, the feet, and the heart of Jesus here on earth, to represent him. He himself said, and I hope I quote this the right way, "As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And so the role of the church right now, I think, has become much more accurate than what maybe we have thought it to be. Instead of meeting on a Sunday and it being centered around an attendance, the church is now scattered, and we are to be everywhere being like Jesus and declaring the name of Jesus to our neighbors and to everyone who is around us. And I really feel that the church's role right now is to help meet practical needs in any way that we possibly can. All of us hope this thing's going to be over soon.
That's true.
Yeah, but while it's going on, we can help meet needs.
I like that, what you said, meeting needs of the people.
Right.
I know a lot of people are saying, they went from a lot of different things on the podcast, and now they're talking about religion. They're talking about this. Well, I can tell you something, that I haven't always had the spiritual connection that I have now. There was a point in my time, and I've said this publicly, that if I couldn't touch it, I didn't believe, and if I couldn't trace it, I didn't follow it. But life has a way of making people evolve.
Right.
It has a way of humbling you. It has a way of bringing you to different understanding. Every 5 years, the human mind grows. Every 5 years, you change. You're not the person you were 5 years ago. And so every year of my life, I've grown, and I respect the word. I respect that spiritual connection.
Right.
It's gotten me through a lot of difficult times in my life. It has sustained me in some troubling times. And one of the things that we do around here every Monday morning before we have command staff meeting, the chaplain prays.
Yes.
And we begin our staff meetings. We begin our every Monday morning like that. I can't make people do that, nor do I try to make them do that.
Right.
I just say, here's what we're going to do. You're welcome to join in. If not, then so
Sure.
be it. But this time that we're living in, I heard somebody say something, and I said it the other day, is that we're not immune, or no one gave us immunity to this situation that we're in. In other words, God didn't give you immunity in this situation that you're in, this it that we're in. But we've got to stand strong and face this it that we're in.
Right.
And we've got to hope and pray and have faith that God gets us through this it that we're in. But then I looked at that in another way, and you can help me, you can chime in on this, is that we've changed the way we do business now.
Right.
We've changed our whole way of living and thinking. And maybe it was a way of, let me get your attention. Almost like someone said of a rising commercial, can you hear me now? Can you see me now? And so I think about a lot of things when I sit and I look out of the window and I'm driving up and down the highways and the byways, and I start to look at how for so many years we had started drifting apart from one another as human beings. And now with the acts of kindness that I see we're starting to drift slowly back together. We're starting to realize some things that are important to us. You know, we're starting to realize that while we're keeping our social distance, we must maintain our moral connection. We must maintain our emotional connections to one another and our human touch regardless. And so I'm glad you're here today, because there's so many questions that I have for you in terms of the role of the church in these times, the role of the church as it relates to politics, the role of the church when it relates to wrong and right. What is the church's role in, as you said, serving mankind right now, serving the people that are hurting?
To look for the opportunities to minister in practical ways. And I know for us, we're still, I feel like my church, we're still kind of behind in learning what that is going to be right now. Because, but you know, to find out where we can meet needs. And thankfully, we've got just something simple that, for instance, understand the food bank is low.
Okay.
God's people, when they go buy groceries, can buy extra and take it by there. Finding out.
Can you say that again? Because I want people to hear you say
yes, that. Yes. The food bank. I'm trying to recall the name of it right now. The Forsyth County's food bank.
Right.
It'd be easy to find. That just a simple thing that when you purchase groceries for your family, that you just purchase extra and take it to the food bank. And my understanding is you can take it there and they'll come out and pick it up for you and take it in. Because there's a lot of people out there that are depending upon that for their food on their table.
They're located. When you were talking, I started thinking they're located all over the county. I know there's one in Clemens,
right?
Right there behind the, right there near the old Kmart building. I know there's one in Kernersville, where Bishop Fulton's runs. I know there's one on the south side. I mean, they're strategically located. Right. And I like what you say, you know, when you're buying grocery, if you can help one another.
Right.
You know, a lot of times I weigh in on a lot of situations that happen in this county. Some people say, well, you have no business weighing in on that. That has nothing to do with the sheriff's office. I think that we all have a responsibility to one another. I think we all have a moral obligation to each other. And so some situations I feel compelled to weigh in, because one of the things that I look at all the time, and I remind myself, what you do for the least of us.
Yes.
Yeah, the least of them.
And see, that's it right there. I mean, Jesus said, inasmuch you've done it for the least of these, and he didn't say, it's like you've done it for me. He said, you've done it for me.
Right.
And when you don't do it, you haven't done it for me. And that to me is a compelling and just overwhelming thought.
That's so true.
Yeah, and the other thing that the church now can do is to look at their neighborhood. You know, I know I live in a really nice subdivision. By nice, I mean not expensive, high, but our people are nice. Right. You know, I didn't mean by that, really big homes, but people are friendly. But so often, no one has any idea who their next door neighbor is.
We don't.
You know, and this is an opportunity for God's people to go next door and to do it carefully. You know, make sure if you don't spread germs and stuff.
Right.
But But
Check on one
what can I
another.
do?
Yeah, how can I help you?
Yeah, how can I help you? What can I get for you? If there's elderly people there or something like that. And the other thing too that really comes to my mind is just praying for people, because we have got this tremendous connection with God that needs that I can't personally meet. I can go to the one on their behalf and pray for them, and know that God can meet those needs.
That is so true. I have to share this story with you. By no means am I a pastor. By no means am I sin free. I'm just sinning a little less.
Me neither.
I'm just sinning a little less than I did yesterday and the day before.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sin free. I'm just sinning less than I used to. But Dr. Pettit and I were having a conversation, and he told me that during the month or during Lent, they pray, each person is asked to pray for 30 minutes. I have never prayed for 30 minutes continuously. I mean, I pray for a few minutes lunch, when I eat,
Right.
before I go to sleep. But he said, I want you to pray for 30 minutes constantly. I've never done that before. So that particular morning, it was a Wednesday morning, 2 weeks ago, a lot was going on. And I got up and being obedient. Of course, he wanted me to do it at 2, 3, or 4. I said, no, it won't happen at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. However, I'll get up at 7 and go from 7 to 7:30. And I was amazed at how, after doing that, I said the basic prayer, my prayer. Then I started praying for the county, the men and women that work here, and just started praying for some individual things going on in my life and people's lives that I knew about. But then I got down to this part where I started thanking for the grace and the mercy that has been shown on my life. I started thanking him for what my pastor, Bishop Mack, used to talk about danger seen and danger unseen. And I actually started getting chills, because when I started to look back over my life from where I've come and where I am, and I see how that connection, that stronger I was connected, the stronger I was going into battle or into a situation. And so every day I look out at what's going on across this country. And my youngest son said to me the other day, he said, Jalen, my next to the youngest, he said, Dad, he said, I look at TV, a lot of people worried, and he said, you don't seem worried. I said, well, they used to tell me, if you're going to pray, don't worry. So if you ain't going to pray, then worry. And I say, so here's what we doing. We ain't worried. We just going to keep praying.
Right.
And so he said, so what you want me to do? I said, I want you to pray and don't worry. But a lot of people right now are stressful.
Yes.
A lot of people right now are going through a lot of things, a lot of situations. What would you offer them up? And I ask you that question, give you a chance to get your thought together on that one, because as I travel around this county, I see a lot of things going on. Just forget this county, a lot of things going on across this state, this country.
Right.
There are so many things, we can just say things are happening in this county, this state, and this country. And one of the things that is amazing to me is that it's just not isolated. Just today, there was a shooting in the courthouse in Buncombe County in Asheville.
Oh, no.
We're responding to calls anywhere from $500,000 homes to trailer parks, emotional disturbance, domestic disturbance. In other words, disturbance beginning based on emotions.
Great.
Us being confined to our homes. How should we use this time? And what should we do, or what word would you give the people, the viewers, of this time that we're in?
To me, and as I was thinking about that, a verse in the Bible that comes to my mind is, therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God. And to me, the biggest problem that we have today is that people are alienated from God. They're alienated from the Creator. And when you separate man from his Creator, and sin separates, what happens is the nature, our nature of rebellion, and I love what you said. And by the way, you connected me being a pastor with, and some that put sinless in there. I'm not sinless either, but I got a Savior who is. That's all I can claim. That's all I got.
Yeah.
But you take a man and you separate him from his Creator, a woman from, and you pull out the very foundation of what we really are. And I think the greatest thing that can be offered today to anyone, and people see the need of it, is to become rightly related again to God. And that is exactly what Jesus accomplished on the cross. You know, he came, and for people to understand that Jesus is not just some man, but he's God who became man. He lived that perfect, sinless, spotless life on my behalf that I failed to live. And then willingly, not forced. I mean, he was God. And, put him on a cross, he could have ripped the nails out and pulled angels down from heaven and said, take care of these guys. But he willingly hung on the cross until the wrath of God was satisfied for my sin, for all of our sin, and then literally physically rose again from the grave. And that by faith in Christ, a sinner like me can be rightly related to that God.
And me.
Yes. And the knowledge of that gives peace, because then as a child of God, I can look to God even when I don't understand what's going on. And I know for both of us, we've experienced grief that was extremely personal. And I know when my wife was going through cancer and everything, I had no answers. Nothing made sense. But I knew a God who gave me peace.
When you were talking, what came to my mind? Was there's a songwriter, and I can't think of his name. I want to say Reverend Cleveland. I may have his name wrong, but there was a song that they sang, and they said, "Where is your faith?"
Wow, it's
if you're
good.
Going through something.
Yeah.
He said, I met a man, and he needed this, and he said, but where is your faith?
Right.
And so I guess this would be a time that people, where is your faith?
Exactly.
And who is it in? And you said something that I was thinking about when you said that when he was on the cross, he could have ripped the nails out.
Right.
But one of the things that always have been in my head, even as a young boy when I heard the story, and as an older man when I read the story and I've heard it told to me, one of the things that have always just rang in my head, and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I always thought about, what if he would reverse that and say, Father, please don't forgive them.
Yeah.
That the locusts and all of hell rain down upon them.
Exactly.
That would have changed the world as we know it. Where is your faith? And I love having conversations like that, because I learn a lot when I have conversations. I find a different part of me. My faith has gotten me through some extreme situations. A lot of its that I've found myself in, and because we on camera, I'll just leave those letters out. But I've been in a lot of its in my life. And when I went through some personal grief in my life, it was my faith that brought me to it. And I've always said this, and even in my conversations when I have conversations with people and I'm speaking sometime, what I always say is that when you're going through something and you're in a situation, your faith has already seen you out of that situation. Right. But then here's the other piece about that, is that you must and you have to be connected to something greater than yourself.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times in life, when you find yourself in a situation, the mindset that you're in that situation is not the mindset that will free you from that situation. Right. In other words, your mindset has to be greater than what you're in. And the only thing that I know that is greater than myself is my spirituality, is my connection with something stronger and greater than me. And I just love the place that I have found myself in, is because now when I look at situations, I look at the good in it. Where do we go from here? How do we go from here? And you said it best. The church is in a place to where all the leaders, all the clergy, all the men and women who call themselves leaders, faith leaders, whether you lead a congregation of 2, 3, 4, 5, a couple hundred or a couple thousand, this is a time that we could really make a difference.
Absolutely.
While this is not life as we know it, we could use this to change life for better than what we knew it to be.
Absolutely.
We can bring our faith a lot stronger. We can have real conversations. We can take where we are now and move us to a totally different place, a totally different mindset. Because what I'm finding is that mindset affects outcome of situation.
Right.
Mindset affects what we do in situations. And I really enjoy having the ability now to look at a situation and say, what is the good in it?
Right.
And how do we better from it?
Yeah. Yeah, crises like this, what we thought, I preached on Sunday about Psalm 46. God is a refuge and strength and a very present help in trouble.
I'm glad you told me because I didn't know that one. Psalm 46,
Yeah,
I didn't know that one.
It's an awesome one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, therefore we will not fear though the earth be removed, though the mountains be carried in the midst of the sea.
Okay.
Everything,
Yeah.
pretty much everything that we look to as being.
See, I ain't got to the place where I can quote them yet.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm still a novice. I'm still learning as I go.
And don't put me on a test on their verses to quote.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll start when I'm preaching in front of, like when the people are there,
Yeah.
I'll start quoting a verse and I'll think, that's not right. And I'll just go ahead and look it up and, because I'll try it. But
What's it like? What's it like being a pastor? What's it like walking in a place and people expect you to be perfect? What's that like?
I'm so glad you asked that, because the folks at North Point who know me know I'm not. They don't expect me to be perfect. They've been around me long enough to know I'm not. And that's what's so cool is there really is not that expectation at all. And I try to make sure people know that, because what I want to do is point them to Jesus, point them to the one who is perfect.
Mm.
The last thing I want to do is point them towards me.
Exactly.
And, yeah. And I think about this is, I didn't hear this till just recently, but it really made a lot of sense. People talk about the Apostle Paul being the greatest Christian that ever lived. Well, he didn't think so. The book of 2 Timothy was the last book he wrote before he was executed for his faith. And that's late in his life. I mean, late in his Christian life. He'd come to Christ a long time before that. Well, he called himself the chief of sinners. He didn't say I was the chief of sinners. He says I still am. So, and in Philippians chapter 3, he said, I have not attained, I have not gotten to where I should be. But then he turned around and said, follow my example. So it's, I can say to the church, follow me as I follow Christ. You're going to see me fall. You're going to see me mess up. North Point saw me go through a very dark time of depression. It was awful. And
Been there.
yeah, my wife stuck by me like glue through that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through that, I wondered, would they ever want to hear this dude preach again? After all that and my leadership came to me and said, you're off for a month. Just relax. We're praying for you. Every single day, Sheriff, I would get multiple cards from people in my church. Skip, take your time. We're here for you, praying for you. And they ministered back to me. And at a time when I had nothing to give, they were just pouring it into me. And when I came back, I wondered, would they, to be honest with you, and this is hard to say because I know people will be watching this, but I was scared, would I have lost their respect? And when I came back in, they said, man, we're so glad to have you back. And it was like they were saying, well, no, you're not perfect. Just keep talking about that perfect God.
That's
so
interesting.
That's very liberating.
Yeah, but you know what? What I've found in life is that all of us have stories.
Yeah.
The story is to be told, not to hold.
Yes.
Because
Good point.
When you release your story, you empower other people.
Exactly.
When you release your story, you give an edification and praise to someone that brought you through that.
Yes.
There are a lot of people in this world. I classify them as three kinds of people. Those are going into something, those that are into something, and those that are coming out. But there's actually a fourth kind, those that don't make it out of the storm.
Right.
Those that don't make it out of the it.
Mm-hmm.
Those that get caught up and they transition. And so all of us have a story, and all of us will find ourselves in a place or in a space that is dark. I look back at my life, and, there were times in my life when I was afraid. There was a time in my life where I didn't look like all the hell I was catching or going through, but I felt it.
Right.
And so I think that a lot of times in life we hold our story because we don't want people to see the real us. We don't want people to see that we're hurting. We don't want people to see that we're vulnerable. We don't want people to see that we're human beings. I had this this facade that I was this special agent, that I was the black James Bond, and I didn't hurt. And I guess God had to humble me.
Right.
God had to break me. And in that dark space that I was in, it was a very dark place, a very dark space. It was very humbling. And it caused me to look at myself totally different. It caused me to say that what didn't kill me made me stronger. It didn't become a cliche to me then. It was real to me then.
Absolutely.
What almost broke me in half made me a stronger individual. And so a lot of times, a lot of the fights that I engage in terms of things that I will weigh in on, is because I understand that sometimes people need help.
Right.
Sometimes people need to be encouraged. And I'm at a place in my life where I don't get affected by what people think of Bobby. I know who Bobby is. And a lot of that has to do with my connection, my spirituality.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with the things that I've been through, the things that you see. Our experiences, shape us. It makes you become somebody. It grows you.
Right.
And if you're not careful, it could break you.
Absolutely.
And so I give honor and thanks that what I've been through didn't break me.
Yes.
It strengthened me. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on my way back in. So, this time we're living in, things open a certain time of the day. So today I got up and I had realized that the cleaner's been closed for quite a few days now.
Right.
And I said, so I had to put a shirt on that, if you notice, I couldn't button it like I wanted to without it choking me.
Yeah.
So I mustered through that this morning. I said, you know what? I'm finna go see when this cleaner's gonna open again. I'm finna call them on their emergency number. And when I got there, I realized they only open certain hours of the day. And luckily, I was there. So I got my clothes out, put some more in there. But on my way back in, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. We was having this conversation talking about your place in your space has to line up with your soul. In other words, where you are now, is your soul comfortable?
That's good.
The place that you are now in your life, the question was asked to me, is your soul comfortable? And I started thinking about that because there were some times in my life, in the place and the spaces that I was in, that my soul was not comfortable.
Right.
But now I'm in a place in my life where my soul is comfortable with what I do and what I say.
Right.
And so I think that we all have these places and spaces that we're in sometime in life that, are we comfortable with the space that I'm in?
Right.
Are you comfortable with the skin and where you at right now that you're in? And so I think a lot of that has to do with the book that you brought with you.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of that has to do with your connectivity to something greater than yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all have this tendency to want to put up the facade that we're tough, that we're strong. And one of the lessons I learned on that was the liberating thing that I could just say, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you who got me through this.
Yeah.
And who was there for me and who never gave up on me. And that is just it's just liberating. It's wonderful. You had to stand in front of my church and say, if you dealt with doubts, you're not alone. I sure dealt with them. And the people, the looks in their eyes were like, oh, and it was, and yeah, God used that to teach me how weak I am, but how strong He is. And
It actually made me. It actually empowered me.
I like the James Bond thing too, but we all want to be that. It's just we're not.
Well, it actually empowered me when I was traveling around the country speaking, and my conversations when I spoke to crowds of people was based on experiences that I had been through, and I was amazed that after I got off from speaking, left the platform from speaking, people would stop me in the hallways or wherever I was going to and say, "I'm going through that now."
Yes,
they would say, "I've been through that, and I'm still suffering from it." And I was share what got me through it. I was share what I did to sustain my mindset that kept me from going insane, that kept my sanity intact. And I think a lot of times in life, all of us have stories out there. All of us.
Right.
We need to share our story. I think this would be a great time now that people are at home to start writing your story.
It would.
To start sharing your story. Go to Facebook and share your story with people. Write it down. Empower people right now. You don't have to be a pastor to have a congregation, do you?
No.
Yeah.
You
can minister to people without being licensed. Can you?
Yes.
And I think that all of us have a ministry if it's nothing but talking to people, sharing
That's
with
exactly
people.
right.
When I came to your church, I talked with some of your members, and it was very empowering to me. I enjoyed that. What I want to tell you is this. I'm going to give you the last word here, but what I want to tell you is this. You're a special man. You have a special place here if you ever need anything from the office of the people, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Please don't hesitate. I want you to come back and see us again and talk with me.
Great.
And I want to definitely come back to your church and listen to you give the word, because you and I have plenty more conversations to have, because every now and then I find myself looking backward, and I know that if I keep looking backwards, I'm going to have a wreck. It's like driving. I keep looking backwards. So I know my attention needs to be focused on what's in front of me.
Right.
What does he have for me, and what would he have me to do?
Absolutely.
So I want to give you the last word before we close out.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, if I could just say, Sheriff, the fact that you are so transparent, I think I speak for Forsyth County. I know I speak for myself, that I think that's what makes you're approachable, you're transparent, you're real, and we can see it. And
I have no choice, though.
Yeah,
I have no choice.
Well, I'm with you on that. I have no choice about me either. I appreciate that.
I have no choice. I'll tell you this quick note right here. It's probably going to take me into a whole nother. But I'll never forget when I was getting ready to run, and the reporter called me and he said, "I'm looking at some things, and I saw where you had some trouble once in your life, not criminal trouble, for those that are looking." And I said, "Yeah, there was a time in my life when, like 80% of the world, I fell on hard times. And that was at the time when I lost my wife. I fell on difficult times. But it's the difficult times that have made me stronger.
Absolutely.
It's the difficult times in my life that have made me transparent to where I can speak truth to power.
Yeah.
Because I was there before.
Right.
I maintained through it all. And look where he brought me from.
Exactly.
And, not to be cliches, but if he brought me from there to here,
right,
there's hope for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I want you to know I appreciate you. May God continue to smile upon you.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you do in this community. Keep serving us, helping us. And I hope that all of you out there get out, do your part, do something. May God continue to smile upon you, this county, this state, and this country. And as always, have a great week, and may God continue to smile upon us.